Hello, Tokyo. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me and for being here. I wish I could be there in person, but I just couldn't ethically choose to do such a big trip with such a great environmental impact, knowing that I could only be in Tokyo for about 1.5 weeks. And so I'm joining you this morning in a very relevant for this session live stream. And today I'd like to talk to you about a project called Being in Concert, the effects of audience participation on emotion and connectedness. I'm a doctoral researcher at the Ritmo Center for Interdisciplinary Studies in Rhythm, Time, and Motion at the University of Oslo. And this project was a collaboration with the Live Lab at McMaster University. But first, I want to explain why it is that I measure concerts. Well, concerts are culturally important, socially complex phenomena that are a real-world example of music listening and participation in which anyone can be an audience member or a study participant, and there are a variety of norms across different genres and cultures. In my opinion, they are a perfect setting to further understand embodied music cognition and social psychology. And a question that has been haunting me for quite some time is, do concerts facilitate social bonding? And if so, how can that be enhanced? Previously, I've examined connectedness in concerts in a variety of ways, including during the coronavirus crisis. We had a concert series called Quarantine Concerts or Corona Concerts Project, in which live streamed concerts promoted more social connection than pre-recorded concerts. This was one of the main findings from this article from 2021. Also, in the Music Lab Copenhagen concert, we found that a live classical concert facilitated more connectedness among the audience than the live stream concert. But surprisingly, both the live and live streaming audiences reported similar levels of connectedness to the performers. So this was rather surprising and is a finding that I want to replicate. How does motion relate to emotion in live and live streaming concert audiences? Well, also in the Music Lab Copenhagen project, we found that a live streaming audience moved more than a live audience. This could be because they are able to move more freely through their environment, or because they could have been multitasking. The piece of music matters for the behavioral norms more than the concert frame. At this concert, there were 2 classical pieces and a series of folk tunes, and the audience responded not as if they were at a classical concert, but they responded differently to each of these pieces, such that they moved less in the classical pieces and more in the folk. And their reports of connectedness to the other audience actually related to how much motion that they could see in their neighbors. In particular, they rated higher connectedness to the audience when their neighbors behaved in genre-expected ways, moving more during the folk pieces and less during the classical pieces. But can connectedness be facilitated by performer-audience interaction and through musical participation? This is what we aim to find out in this project during a pop concert. Specifically, we asked, how does shared presence and participation influence emotion and pleasure and social bonding among an audience and performers? We did this by asking the performers to encourage the audience to sing and clap along at 2 different songs in their set, and these were matched with some low participation controls. Alex Worms and her band were the performers for this project that happened in the Live Lab, a concert hall that doubles as a research facility, but it is very much branded as a concert hall and does feel and look just like a normal concert hall. We recruited participants with the help of the performer and the venue through promotions and social media, and we also recruited some participants through the undergraduate psychology student research pool. Live participants purchased tickets, while live stream participants could register for free. And both audiences received instructions on how to download and use the Music Lab app, which records participants' motion through the accelerometer of their own smartphone and survey responses. Live streaming participants also created a unique participant ID to make sure that we could tie all of their data together and avoid collecting any personal information. Before the concert, participants in the live audience and the performers were fit with motion capture technology. The audience members wore a cap that measured their head movements, and performers wore a headband that was more subtle. There was a synchronization phase in which participants tapped on their phones where the Music Lab app was recording to align the motion capture and the accelerometers for the live and the live streaming audiences. There were surveys collected throughout the concert, including before the concert and after every second piece. And the performer was instructed to only begin speaking after the participants had filled the Song 2 post-song survey. Song 4 and Song 8 were both active participation songs, and Songs 2 and 6 were their controls that were matched in emotional and musical qualities. So we used survey booklets to record the audience's subjective reports during the concert. And they responded to questions such as how their performance rating, their enjoyment, their engagement or involvement, how moved they felt, and whether they felt connected to the musicians and the audience. Thanks to Emily Wood's great suggestion, we developed a survey also for the performers. And the performers answered some similar questions, allowing us to compare between musician and performer responses, and some additional questions that will help Emily's research going forward, including their ratings of their own performance, their coordination with other group members, their enjoyment, difficulty, intensity, and how, and importantly, how engaged that they thought that the audience was, and of course, feelings of connectedness. So it was a wild success, a sold-out show with 83 in-person audience members, 4 performers, and approximately 75 nearly complete live streaming participants. Many of these live streaming participants were actually recruited through the undergraduate participant research pool. And I want to show you now an excerpt that reveals that performer interaction did successfully promote audience participation. I'm just going to change this to be optimized for video clip, and I'll switch it back afterwards.
Keep it going. When did you get so cold? Yeah, keep singing, keep singing. Oh. When did you get so cold? One more time. Whoa. Whoa. When did you get so cold? Last one, everybody. Yeah. Whoa. When did you get so cold?
I will switch it now back. Hopefully you can see me now. And yes, so Alex and her band were very successful in engaging the audience. That was Song 4, the song in which people felt reported being most engaged. Now, I'm going to walk you through some preliminary data analysis, and I will break it down as we go. So first, I wanted to know what are the correspondences between some of the measures being collected with the visual analog scale that I showed in the survey before. And we can see that there are very strong correlations, which is indicating that when participants are reporting high levels of this item in a song, they're also reporting high levels of the other items. So enjoyment, rating, connectedness, moved, these are all, or feeling moved, these are all highly interrelated in both the live and the live streaming audiences. And similarly, if participants reported low levels, they're reporting low levels on the other items as well. But did audience participation really promote more engagement? Well, indeed, what you saw in that video was Song 4, and the live audience and the live streaming audience both promoted more engagement. So yes, indeed, audience participation promoted more engagement, and this was regardless of the group. So the high participation songs promoted more engagement than the low participation songs. What about connectedness? Well, the live group reported more connectedness to other audience members than the live streaming group, and both groups reported more connectedness during high participation. It seems again, though, that there were no differences or little differences between the group's reports of connectedness to the musicians. We can see that the live audience is reporting similar levels of connectedness to the streaming audience. So up at the top, we have the target of who they were reporting they were connected to, and the bottom is the group, live or streaming. Now, again, here's another more in-depth view into the data. On top, we have the live audience reports, the middle, the musicians, and the bottom, the live streaming audience. Now, participants were asked to report how much their rating of performance quality, enjoyment, how engaged they felt, or the musicians reported their appraisal of audience engagement, their musical absorption experience, how connected they felt to the musicians, connected to the live audience, and the streaming audience. And what's interesting to note is that the responses follow a similar profile across songs for both audiences, regardless of the question, with this peaking in song 4 and then slightly higher in song 8. Also interesting to note is the engagement measure. I wanted to point out that the profile that the performers are showing in their responses does match the audience very closely. I'm not entirely sure how to test this statistically because we only have 4 performers, but I will be continuing to conduct research as this is still preliminary evidence. So to highlight, performers accurately judge audience engagement and they feel more connected to the live audience than the live streaming audience. Here we can see that is that their profile here of their reports connected to the live audience similarly match the audience's reports of their connected to the musicians. But the musicians did not report feeling very connected to their live streaming audience, which is not similar to what the live streaming audience reported. You can see that they are actually indeed reporting almost as connected as the live audience. Perhaps, yes, the same, almost identical profile. Now, how did the audience affect the musicians? We also recorded performer responses to the survey during the dress rehearsal. And here we've represented the difference between the concert reporting and the dress rehearsal on their quality of performance, coordination, enjoyment, difficulty level, intensity, feeling absorbed, not worried about what others think, energized, and their level of challenge. And we can see that the concert was often perceived as higher on almost all of these measures because it's above 0. Positive values indicate the concert value was higher. So in conclusion, shared presence is important for the performers to feel connected with their audience, but not for the audience to feel connected with performers. Performer-audience interaction leads to participation, which can lead the audience to experience greater engagement and connectedness. However, the quality and enjoyment of the musical scaffolding of the interaction is important. Stay tuned for the motion results and more. And finally, thank you so much to my collaborators. To find out more about the study, you can actually scan this QR code, which will bring you to the live streamed concert video, along with a science snapshot, which features my dissemination presentation to a wider audience. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of ICMPC.